tropical weather outlook for the North Atlantic, Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico. Tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next 7 days. Small craft advisory in effect from 6 p.m. Thursday to noon Central Standard Time Friday. What? North winds around 20 knots with gusts up to 25 knots and choppy waters expected. Where? Baton Bay, Mount Madre, Corpus Christi and Two Aces Bays, Copano, Aransas, and Redfish Bays in San Antonio, Mesquite, and Espiritu Santo Bays. When? From 6 a.m. Thursday to noon Central Standard Time. Impacts. Strong, very strong winds and slash or increased seas will result in hazardous marine conditions, especially for inexperienced mariners with smaller vessels. Inexperienced mariners, especially those operating smaller vessels, should avoid navigating in hazardous conditions. Small craft advisory in effect from 6 p.m. Thursday to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time Friday. What? North winds 20 to 25 knots with gusts up to 30 knots and seas 5 to 8 feet expected. Where? Coastal waters from Baton Bay to Port Aransas out 20 nautical miles. Coastal waters from Port Aransas to Matagorda Ship Channel out 20 nautical miles. Waters from Baton Bay to Port Aransas from 20 to 60 nautical miles, and waters from Port Aransas to Matagorda Ship Channel from 20 to 60 nautical miles. When? From 6 a.m. Thursday to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time Friday. Impacts. Strong to very strong winds and slash or increased seas will result in hazardous marine conditions, especially for inexperienced mariners with smaller vessels. Inexperienced mariners, especially those operating smaller vessels, should avoid navigating in hazardous conditions. The current time is 7:07 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here is the 6 p.m. Marine Roundup for the coastal bend. The following data are raw and unverified. At Ingleside, the air temperature was 75 degrees. The water temperature was 72 degrees. Winds were out of the south at 12 knots, with gusts as high as 50 knots. The water level was 0.38 feet above mean sea level. At Packery Channel, the air temperature was 77 degrees. The water temperature was 73 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 12 knots, with gusts as high as 18 knots. The water level was 0.31 feet above mean sea level. At Port Aransas Ferry Landing, the air temperature was 76 degrees. The water temperature was 75 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 8 knots, with gusts as high as 13 knots. The water level was 0.59 feet above mean sea level. At Bird Island, the air temperature was 76 degrees. The water temperature was 73 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 14 knots, with gusts as high as 18 knots. The water level was 0.34 feet above mean sea level. At Baton Bay, the air temperature was 76 degrees. The water temperature was 77 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 13 knots, with gusts as high as 17 knots. The water level was 0.35 feet above mean sea level. At Rockport, the air temperature was 75 degrees. The water temperature was 72 degrees. Winds were out of the south at 13 knots, with gusts as high as 15 knots. The water level was 0.19 feet above mean sea level. At Seadrift, the air temperature was 73 degrees. The water temperature was 71 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 7 knots, with gusts as high as 9 knots. The water level was 0.04 feet below mean sea level. At Port O'Connor, the air temperature was 74 degrees. The water temperature was 73 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 8 knots, with gusts as high as 13 knots. The water level was 0.39 feet above mean sea level. Here are the 6 p.m. South Texas weather observations. The report from Kingsville was not available. Across the area at Alice. Visibility 10 miles. Temperature was 79
You are
degrees.
going online for that.
67. Wind was southeast at 7 miles an hour. and the pressure was 29.78 inches and steady. Fall furious, light rain, reducing the visibility to 5 miles, temperature 82 degrees.
I've been recording this whole time.
The report from Hemperville was not available. At Brownsville, visibility 10 miles, temperature was 77 degrees, dew point 69. Wind was south at 12 miles an hour, and the pressure was 29.82 inches and falling. At Laredo, visibility 10 miles, temperature was 77 degrees, dew point 58. Wind was south at 7 miles an hour, and the pressure was 29.80 inches.
Past Corpus.
Visibility 10 miles, temperature was 78 degrees,
Kingsville.
dew point 58. Wind was east at 5 miles an hour, and
Yeah.
the pressure was 29.79 inches and steady. San Antonio, mostly cloudy, temperature 76 degrees. And Victoria,
I'm recording what?
visibility 10 miles,
Okay.
temperature was 75
Everything you say is on mine, so.
dew point 67. Wind was south at 10 miles an hour, and the pressure
I think
was
we're in Riviera now.
29.80 inches and steady. At Port Aransas, winds were south at 20 knots. Air temperature 76 degrees. At buoy 42,019, winds were south at 90 knots. Sea temperature 80 degrees. At buoy 42,020, winds were south at 40 knots. Air temperature 77 degrees. Wave height 6 feet. Wave period 7 seconds. The forecast for the Kingsville area. Tonight, partly cloudy. Patchy fog after midnight.
Yeah, Kingsville.
Lows in the lower 60s. Southeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Thanksgiving Day, patchy fog in the morning. Mostly cloudy.
Brownsville, probably.
Less humid with highs in the lower 70s. North winds 15 to 20 miles an hour with gusts up to 30 miles an hour. Thursday night, mostly cloudy. Cooler with lows around 50. North winds 10 to 15 miles an hour with gusts up to 25 miles an hour. Friday, mostly cloudy. Highs in the mid-60s. North winds 10 to 15 miles an hour, becoming northeast 5 to 10 miles an hour in the afternoon. Friday night, mostly cloudy. Lows in the lower 50s. North winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Small craft advisory in effect from 6 p.m. Thursday to noon Central Standard Time Friday. What? North winds around 20 knots with gusts up to 25 knots and choppy waters expected. Where? Baton Bay and Upper McCann, Monterey, Corpus Christi and New Aces Bays, Copano, Aransas and Redfish Bays, and San Antonio, Mesquite, and Espiritu Santo Bays. When? From 6 a.m. Thursday to noon Central Standard Time Friday. Impacts. Strong to very strong winds and flash or increased seas will result in hazardous marine conditions, especially for inexperienced mariners with smaller vessels. Inexperienced mariners, especially those operating smaller vessels, should avoid navigating in hazardous conditions. Small craft advisory in effect from 6 p.m. Thursday to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time Friday. What? North winds 20 to 25 knots with gusts up to 30 knots and seas 5 to 8 feet expected. Where? Coastal waters from Baton Bay to Port Aransas out 20 nautical miles. Coastal waters from Port Aransas to Matagorda Ship Channel out 20 nautical miles. Waters from Baton Bay to Port Aransas from 20 to 60 nautical miles, and waters from Port Aransas to Matagorda Ship Channel from 20 to 60 nautical miles. When? From 6 a.m. Thursday to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time Friday. Impacts. Strong to very strong winds and flash or increased seas will result in hazardous marine conditions, especially for inexperienced mariners with smaller vessels. Inexperienced mariners, especially those operating smaller vessels, should avoid navigating in hazardous conditions. The current time is 7:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here are the 7 p.m. South Texas weather.
Alright, that is the end of the channel cycle, broadcast cycle, my bad, of Wng609. And